Quiz Stunts, a podcast based on LGBT community. Throughout this podcast, we discuss in detail about trending topics surrounding our community. We talk about important news, interesting and inspiring stories, and we also talk about a few people who have had mind boggling experiences. My name is Neville Nazareth, and I will be your host for this entire series. Please don't forget to subscribe to this podcast so you can be notified every time we update a new episode. So, without further ado, let's just dive into our topic. So, friends, as you would have already read from the title of today's podcast, today we're going to speak up about the trans community. Throughout this episode, we shall discuss topics that is surrounding the transgender community. We're going to talk about what it is to be a transgender, what is India's transgender protection right, which was introduced in 2019. We're going to discuss about what is wrong with India's Transgender Persons Protection of Right Act 2019. We're going to discuss about what are transgender actually looking from a society, and we're going to end by giving you a hint on what is going to be our next topic. So please stay tuned so that you can listen to this whole episode and know a little more about your trans friends. So to begin with, generally, we are all assigned with a biological sex. And on the day we are born, it is determined based on our reproductive organs. So it could either be a male child, a female child, or it could be an intersex child. But what WHO, that is World Health Organization, says is that gender is a result that is socially constructed idea about the behavior, action, and the roles a particular sex performs. So, to speak further, transgender people have a gender identity or gender expression that differs from the sex assigned at birth. Talking about the Indian Transgender Persons Protection of Right Act 2019, India is a democratic country, and India's constitution, when structured, had promised each and every citizen the right to justice, liberty, equality, and fraternity. Our community has drafted its constitution to make our country a sovereign, socialist, secular, democratic republic. But however, they have forgotten to mention laws and rights for an entire community. And that was until 2019 when they finally rectified it by creating a law called as India's Transgender Persons Protection of Right Act 2019. Now, when this law was raised, there were a lot of trans people who were opposing it. But very few of us know that this has happened. Why? Because neither our news channels, neither any other informative websites have actually taken the time to focus on this issue, relevant news, and make it available for people to read on a larger scale. So, today we're going to talk about a few things which, according to us, are the reason why a transgender person is not accepting these laws. First and foremost, what has happened is that there is no proper definition given in this law which could define transgender, as it is confused between being a transgender person and being an intersex person. This is one of the reasons why there have been a lot of issues created in creating these laws, and the trans community has not got the rights they deserve. The other reason why I feel this law, this act, or this protection bill is not in favor of the trans community is because there is a direct discrimination, as sexual violence is only punishable for up till 2 years. So, what the government means to say is that if a cisgender person or a woman goes through sexual harassment or goes through any kind of sexual violence, the culprit can be punished for the maximum of 6 to 7 years. But in case of a transgender, the maximum number of years he will be punished is 2. So, somewhere or the other, this gives an idea to these men that it is somewhat okay to harass or victimize a trans person but not a cisgender person. The other reason why the transgender community is opposing this law is because when there was a Nalsa judgment passed in the Supreme Court, it gave the transgender people the authority or the right which was to self identify as a trans person. But when the Transgender Persons Protection of Right Act 2019 was introduced, it stated that they need to get themselves verified or call it identified from the district magistrate for issuing a certificate of identity as a trans person. In such a formal manner, what happened is that there is no proper provision given as to on what basis will a person be determined as a transgender or not. At the same time, if in case they do not get approval, there is no documentation given or a protocol given for them to rectify this, which has put the trans community in misery now. The trans community also faces a lot of issues like physical and mental assault and discrimination for their protection. But what has happened is, other than being a protective tool for them, this has created more problem, and this has clearly stated that there has been some discrimination happening between the other gender and the transgender. So now talking about what are the transgender community actually looking for. So basically, they want only three things from us. They want us to accept them for who they are and what they are. They want us to respect them for they being themselves and not living a fake life. And they're looking to have an equal opportunity which is given to a cisgender person so that they can stand par to par with every cisgender person for equal opportunities in education, equal opportunity work wise, and equal opportunity in their daily lives. So, this is all about our today's episode. And before we go, we'd like to appeal to y'all to please make sure you respect the trans community because they do deserve it and they do expect it from you as well, because they have had suffered a lot in their life because of to accept themselves the way they are. They have been thrown out of their family, they have been thrown out of the community, they have struggled a lot, and they have come out to the world to say to the world that they want to live the way they feel from inside. Let's appreciate that and please make sure you respect them. If you have a doubt on how to speak to a trans person, the best thing to do is you can humbly go to them and ask them, which pronoun do you use? Trust me, a small initiative from you can mean a lot to them. And in some or the other way, you will also start respecting the trans community, understanding what they are actually looking for. And soon, I hope there wouldn't be a day required where there is a discrimination happening and we need to create an awareness again stating that don't discriminate between trans community. So, before ending the topic, as I promised, I'm going to introduce my next topic to you. So, it's more like an introduction than a hint. So, in my next episode, I'm going to talk about a specific art form which speaks out about exaggerating the gender norms and performing to entertain people. So, a lot of people would have already guessed what I'm trying to say. So, we're going to speak about the drag community. So, there are a lot of myths which are happening about the drag community, and we wanted people to know, to understand what drag actually is, because it is one of the most beautiful art forms which has been living with us for the longest time. I think before the Stonewall Uprising, drag was something which was performed. Now it is performed. It has been generalized now in a lot of places. In Mumbai also we have few drag performers, drag kings, drag queens. But we need to get this art form into the mainstreams because it is a part of the LGBT community, but it is not only restricted to them. Anybody can be a drag performer, and everybody should at least once in their lifetime try drag because it helps you understand how the other gender is feeling and what they are feeling, etc. So it was wonderful talking to you guys. Please don't forget to subscribe to this podcast so you can be updated every time I update a new episode. I have few wonderful updates coming in for you. These podcasts might have some interesting guests around. So don't forget to subscribe and do share it with your friends so that they can also know about few things which you know now. So thanks guys and hope to see you soon. Bye bye.